Have you ever noticed how some of the most beautiful women seem impossible to understand? You see men chasing them, competing for their attention, and believing that if they were attractive enough, successful enough, or confident enough, everything would suddenly fall into place. But what if that belief is exactly what keeps so many men disappointed? Here's a truth that many men don't discover until years later. Beauty doesn't make a woman easier to understand, it often makes her far more complex. Most men never realize this because they're too focused on what they see instead of what actually shapes her behavior. Think about it. A beautiful woman has likely experienced attention almost everywhere she goes. Compliments, invitations, messages, admiration, it becomes part of her everyday life. While many men imagine this must be a dream, they rarely stop to ask what years of constant attention actually do to someone's psychology. And that's where the biggest misunderstanding begins. Most men assume that beauty automatically creates happiness, confidence, and emotional security. But here's where it gets interesting. Attention and genuine connection are two completely different things. One can be endless, while the other remains surprisingly rare. Imagine two men approaching the same woman. The first immediately praises her appearance, trying to impress her with compliments she's heard hundreds of times before. The second notices something about her personality, her humor, or the way she thinks. Which one do you believe stands out? What happens next may surprise you. The answer has very little to do with looks and everything to do with human psychology. Beautiful women often become experts at recognizing intention. They quickly learn who is interested in them as a person and who is simply reacting to their appearance. Pay close attention because this changes everything. Many men spend years believing they're competing against better-looking men or wealthier men. In reality, they're often competing against predictability. When every conversation starts the same way, every interaction begins to feel the same. That's why the men who seem the least desperate often leave the strongest impression. But don't misunderstand this point. This doesn't mean beautiful women are harder to attract or somehow different from everyone else. They're still human. They still want trust, respect, emotional safety, and authentic connection. The difference is that years of constant attention can make them more selective about who genuinely sees them beyond their appearance. And this leads to a fascinating psychological pattern that almost no one talks about, because the biggest mistake men make isn't chasing beauty itself, it's unknowingly triggering a response that causes attraction to disappear before it even has a chance to grow. Now let's uncover the first principle that changes the way you see attraction forever. Most men believe attraction begins with impressing a beautiful woman. They think the more they prove their value, the more interested she'll become. Better clothes, a bigger paycheck, a flashier lifestyle, or endless compliments, many assume these are the keys to winning her over. But here's what most men never realize. The more someone experiences admiration every single day, the less impressive admiration becomes. It's simple psychology. What is rare feels valuable. What is constant becomes background noise. Think about a man who receives one compliment a year. He remembers it for months. Now imagine someone who hears compliments before breakfast, at work, in the grocery store, and online every single day. Eventually, those words lose their emotional impact. This is why so many men unknowingly blend into the crowd. Instead of creating curiosity, they repeat the same script that dozens of other men have already used. You're so beautiful. I've never seen anyone like you. You're perfect. She has probably heard versions of those lines hundreds of times. But here's where it gets interesting. The men who leave a lasting impression usually do something completely different. They don't ignore her beauty, but they don't make it the center of every interaction either. They treat her like a complete human being instead of placing her on a pedestal. Imagine you're talking to someone who is used to everyone trying to impress her. Suddenly, one person remains calm, listens carefully, asks thoughtful questions, and genuinely enjoys the conversation without constantly seeking approval. That interaction immediately feels different. Why? Because confidence is often communicated through behavior, not words. A man who constantly seeks validation unintentionally signals uncertainty. A man who values himself enough to stay relaxed communicates something far more attractive: emotional stability. Pay close attention because this changes everything. This doesn't mean acting cold, arrogant, or pretending you don't care. That's another mistake many men make. Authentic confidence isn't about playing games. It's about not allowing someone's appearance to determine your behavior. Beautiful women are often very good at noticing the difference between genuine confidence and rehearsed confidence. One feels effortless, the other feels like a performance, and over time, that distinction becomes incredibly easy to recognize. What happens next may surprise you. Many men think rejection means they weren't attractive enough. In reality, they may have revealed something much deeper within the first few minutes, a need for approval that quietly weakened attraction before it had a chance to grow. But if confidence isn't the real secret, then what invisible qualities are beautiful women unconsciously searching for when they decide whether a man is truly different from everyone else? The answer lies in a psychological pattern that most men overlook completely, and once you understand it, you'll never view attraction the same way again. Now we're about to explore one of the most misunderstood aspects of female psychology. Most men assume attraction is based mainly on appearance, status, or money. While those things can influence first impressions, they rarely explain why one man is unforgettable while another is forgotten within hours. The real answer lies much deeper. Beautiful women often develop an instinct for reading emotional behavior. Years of meeting different people teach them to notice subtle patterns that most men don't even realize they're showing. They aren't just listening to your words, they're paying attention to how you carry yourself when things don't go exactly as planned. This is where many men unknowingly lose their advantage. Imagine you're having a conversation and she takes a few minutes to reply or gets distracted talking to someone else. One man immediately becomes anxious, starts overthinking, or tries even harder to regain her attention. Another stays relaxed, continues enjoying the moment, and doesn't let a small change affect his confidence. Which one appears emotionally stronger? The answer isn't about pretending not to care, it's about demonstrating that your emotional state isn't controlled by someone else's reactions. But here's where it gets interesting. People are naturally drawn to emotional consistency. Someone who remains calm under pressure creates a sense of stability. Someone whose mood constantly changes based on approval creates uncertainty. Most men never realize this because they're focused on saying the perfect words instead of developing the mindset that naturally communicates confidence. Another hidden pattern is mystery. No, this doesn't mean playing games or acting unavailable. It means allowing your personality to unfold naturally instead of revealing everything at once. Think about your favorite movie. If the ending were revealed in the first 5 minutes, would you still feel excited to watch it? Probably not. Human curiosity works the same way in relationships. When every opinion, every achievement, and every future plan is shared immediately, there's very little left to discover. Genuine attraction often grows through gradual discovery, not instant disclosure. Pay close attention because this changes everything. Beautiful women are frequently surrounded by people who try too hard to impress them. Ironically, the men who create the strongest emotional impact are often those who are comfortable with silence, who don't feel pressured to fill every pause, and who allow conversations to develop naturally. That quiet confidence communicates something powerful. I enjoy your company, but I don't need your approval to feel complete. And that's a rare quality. What happens next may surprise you, because even emotionally confident men make one critical mistake that slowly destroys attraction over time. It's subtle, almost invisible, and most don't notice it until the relationship begins to fade. By now, you've probably noticed a pattern. The men who make the strongest impression aren't always the most handsome, the richest, or the loudest. More often than not, they're the ones who understand something far more valuable. Attraction may open the door, but respect is what keeps it open. This is the lesson that many men don't learn until much later in life. In the beginning of any interaction, excitement comes naturally. Everything feels new, conversations flow easily, and curiosity is high. But over time, something else takes its place. The question is no longer, is he attractive? Instead, it becomes, Can I trust who he is when life isn't exciting? But here's where it gets interesting. Beautiful women often receive plenty of attention during exciting moments. What they notice far more is how a man behaves during ordinary ones. Does he keep his word? Does he stay calm during disagreements? Does he treat other people with the same respect he shows her? These moments quietly build or destroy respect. Most men never realize this because they believe attraction is created through grand gestures. In reality, consistency is often far more powerful than intensity. Imagine two different men. The first is incredibly charming at the beginning. He sends constant messages, makes huge promises, and creates emotional highs every day. But after a few weeks, his effort becomes inconsistent. His words no longer match his actions. The second man isn't trying to impress every minute. He's honest, dependable, emotionally steady, and his actions consistently reflect what he says. Which man feels safer to invest in emotionally? The answer becomes obvious with time. Pay close attention because this changes everything. Psychology shows that people build deeper trust through predictable, reliable behavior. Emotional stability creates comfort, and comfort creates security. While excitement may capture attention, security is often what transforms attraction into a meaningful relationship. There's another mistake many men make. They begin changing themselves to fit what they think a beautiful woman wants. They hide their opinions, agree with everything she says, and slowly lose the qualities that made them interesting in the first place. Ironically, authenticity is far more attractive than perfection. A man who respectfully expresses his own thoughts, maintains healthy boundaries, and stays true to his values communicates quiet confidence. He isn't trying to control anyone. He simply refuses to abandon who he is for approval. And that's surprisingly rare. What happens next may surprise you. The greatest truth about beautiful women has nothing to do with beauty itself. It's a lesson that connects every principle we've discussed, and once you understand it, you'll never chase attraction the same way again. So, what's the biggest truth about beautiful women that most men learn only after years of confusion, heartbreak, or experience? It's this. Beautiful women don't want to be admired nearly as much as they want to be understood. That single realization changes everything. For most of their lives, many attractive women have been judged within seconds. People notice their appearance before they notice their character. Some assume they're arrogant. Others assume they have an easy life. Many are interested only because of how they look. But underneath all of that, they're still human beings with the same emotional needs as everyone else. They want honesty. They want respect. They want someone who listens instead of simply trying to impress them. Most men never realize this because they're too busy chasing an image rather than building a genuine connection. Now think back to everything we've discussed. The men who stand out aren't the ones giving endless compliments. They're the ones who remain emotionally grounded. They don't seek constant validation. They don't pretend to be someone they're not. They communicate confidence through consistency, self-respect, and authenticity. That's what quietly separates them from the crowd. But here's where it gets interesting. These principles don't only apply to beautiful women, they improve every relationship you'll ever have, whether it's dating, marriage, friendships, or even your professional life. People naturally respect those who respect themselves. Pay close attention because this changes everything. Instead of asking yourself, how do I make her like me? Start asking a better question. Am I becoming the kind of man who naturally creates trust, respect, and emotional security? That shift in mindset is powerful. When you focus on developing confidence instead of chasing approval, improving your character instead of performing for attention, and creating meaningful conversations instead of rehearsed lines, your relationships begin to change naturally. Because real attraction isn't built on tricks, it isn't built on manipulation, and it certainly isn't built on appearances alone. It's built on emotional maturity, authenticity, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your own value. The truth about beautiful women isn't that they're impossible to understand. It's that most people never take the time to understand them in the first place. If this video gave you a new perspective, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more insights into female psychology and relationship dynamics, and comment below. What's one truth about attraction that you wish you had learned years ago? Your answer might help someone else avoid the same mistakes. Until next time, remember this: the strongest attraction isn't created by the man who tries the hardest to be noticed. It's created by the man who never loses himself while getting to know someone else.